Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Rundown, the Freaky Friday edition of the Rundown. My name's Mike Borski. I'm your host for the day, but I do not do this program by myself.
No, you do not, Mike. I am your co-host, Craig DeLuz, and coming at you from the left coast, ready to talk to a news with conservative views.
Left Coast, East Side.
West Side.
Craig, how's your week gone so far? It's Friday. I know we had an interesting week with the president come out and lying about everything during his joint session of Congress. We covered that pretty much, but besides that, how's things going for you?
You know, things have been phenomenal. I got to tell you, it's been a great week on the show. It's been kind of, one of the things I've realized is that we really kind of live in bizarro world where up is down and down is up, and you just kind of have to accept the fact that, well, these folks, there are people out there who are plugged into the matrix and have just decided that they're going to stay plugged in. They're taking the red or the blue pill.
Yeah, listen, it's easier to live with my head in the sand, right? I'll just do what they tell me to do and continue to move forward. I'll be all right with it. I did see a poll that said 48% of Democrats disapprove and border on hate the current president. So that's encouraging. That's going to help us go to sleep at night, knowing that his own people hate him.
I just find it weird that his speech got has been deemed by so many to be so positive, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, did you not listen to what he said he was going to do, which basically is going to, and even the liberals agree, is going to fundamentally change the relationship between the government and the people, and going to take a lot of power and resources and money out of the hands of the people and put it in the hands of the government? Did people not hear that?
He opened it with, "We the people, folks, we the people are we the government. We the government are the people.
We the government gonna take your stuff."
Yeah. He's trying to say that whole thing was written for the rights of the government, evidently, and not for the rights of the people. That's all right. Keep the fences up, Joe. You'll see how that works out for you. Craig, let's get off of Biden. Let's jump to some good news out of the state of Illinois, the Fighting Illini there, because they fought this and they won. The Second Amendment Foundation fought the state of Illinois over their firearms owner's identification, the FOID card. Are you familiar with this, Craig?
Yes, I am familiar with it, and that is one of the few evils that we do not have, anti-gun evils that we do not have in the state of California.
It's an East Coast thing, I guess. It'll get to you sooner or later.
Exactly. So, for those of you who do not know what a FOID card is, it is in essence before you can go look at a gun, before you can possess a gun, before you can hold it, you have to actually apply to be able to exercise your fundamental right to keep and bear arms. You put in an application, you go through a background check, you go through a bunch of stuff, and if you get approved, then you can go ahead and you can exercise your fundamental right to keep and bear arms, or you can at least hold a gun, or go get a gun, or go shopping for a gun. There are several states that have this. One of them, probably the worst stories that I've heard, have come out of, for example, the state of New Jersey, where one individual actually went to purchase a firearm and was killed waiting for their FOID card or for their permit to be approved. So basically, what happened in the state of Illinois was a judge said, "Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense," and wound up basically throwing it out.
Yeah, exactly. I want to make sure that people understand this right. This is not a permit to take this firearm outside your house. It's not your concealed carry permit. This is a permit that you're required to get before you even purchase the firearm. So this is not go get your firearm, register it, and then you want to take it out and go to the range or anything like that. This is before I can even go look at the firearm, I have to have this card, because in the state of Illinois, they have two licenses. Remember, a federal firearms license dealer is not only licensed by the feds, he's licensed by the state. So if somebody comes in and wants to handle a firearm without the FOID card, they risk losing their state license. So this FOID card is a big deal. It's basically a permit to purchase a firearm. And the Constitution says, this shall not be infringed. That sounds pretty big, like an infringement. So the Second Amendment Foundation went after this, and they found, and the court said, no permit required to simply own the firearm and keep it in the home. Now, we know that from Heller, That's exactly what was outlined in Heller and then later in McDonald there in Chicago. So it's not legal and it's unconstitutional. And it's a great day to want to purchase a firearm in the state of Illinois.
Oh yeah, it's. I just find it odd that people don't understand the fundamental concept of civil rights, and that the right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental civil right. And the fact that this is not getting more news is odd to me, because, I mean, fundamentally this says that, yeah, no, I don't have to ask the state permission before I can exercise the right. And keep in mind, these are people who, when they go to purchase a firearm, they're going to go through a background check already. We already know this. So then why have this pre-step other than a way in which to control people, a way in which to delay or deny people their rights, or a way in which for the government to collect money that they'll eventually use to try and infringe on your rights?
All of them. Exactly right, Craig, on all reasons why. It's exactly right. It's control, it's delay, it's deny, it's to generate revenue. Oh, exactly right on everything. You couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better. So ridiculous. Speaking of things that I may not have been able to say better, are you familiar with Officer Dion Joseph out of the Los Angeles Police Department?
I was not familiar with him before. I am familiar with him now, and the letter that he decided to communicate, or the message he decided to communicate to Mr. LeBron James. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
That's right. LeBron James, an NBA player. Everybody knows him. And I think listen, and I'm not kidding. Is he back? Is he playing in LA now?
He is a member of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay. I thought he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers there. And I have not watched basketball in quite some time. And LeBron James is one of the reasons I no longer watch basketball. I mean, besides, we all know MJ's the GOAT, so there's really no other reason to watch LeBron play. But
MJ's the GOAT.
Sorry, MJ's the GOAT. Officer Dion Joseph wrote an open letter, and I guess he's done this before in a couple of other instances. And he wrote a letter to LeBron James concerning his position now with the shooting of the young woman that tried to stab her friend. And I don't, Craig, I don't know how to pronounce her name right, and I don't want to say it wrong and sound like I'm being disrespectful. So I'm not saying her name. If you know it, go right ahead.
Oh yeah, have the black person pronounce the black person's name.
I just don't know how to say it. Listen, it could be it could be a word as simply as
I am not going to try and pronounce her name either, because it's probably not even spelled phonetically. So I don't want to butcher her name. But we all know the young woman who was shot by law enforcement there in where was that at? That was in Ohio.
Yes, Columbus. Yes,
trying to stab someone to death.
Yes. Yes, yeah, they were the young officer, LeBron. We've already had this conversation. LeBron put his image out there. This is the guy that shot him. LeBron, we showed you the meme, the joke where LeBron said, it's getting so a young girl can't even stab her friends anymore. Obviously, it seems that insane.
Wait, Mike, I don't know. Have we showed? I don't think we've showed them that meme.
Oh, well, maybe that'll be later today.
I'll put it in the comments to the video so y'all can see it.
We'll show that. Yeah, we'll show that one to you later. Maybe. But it's another 15, 20 minutes from now. We may have completely forgotten about it by then. So we'll continue on. Anyway, Officer Joseph there. He's a 24-year veteran of the Los Angeles Police Department. I think his last 16 years he's worked on Skid Row. And for those of you that have never been to Skid Row in California, Skid Row sounds every bit as dirty as it is. Okay, it's Skid Row. He wrote a letter, and he had a very interesting message, and it was very positively received. He did not call out LeBron as far as you're wrong, don't do this. He's explained why LeBron has these views. And Craig, listen, Officer Joseph is a black man. LeBron is a black man, and Officer Joseph said some very interesting things. Now, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I want to hand it back to you as a black man and see what your opinions were on why he said LeBron feels this way.
Well, I mean, understand this, that and it's kind of a multiple effect thing, right? I remember when I was young, I grew up in Richmond, California, which at the time was predominantly black. And I went to high school that was pretty well mixed.
Right.
black and white. It was like almost like half black, half white. And then I wound up going to a college that was 3% black. I mean, we're talking less than 300 black students in a town in the town of Chico, California.
Right.
There were a number of times where I got pulled over for no reason. And I will tell you that I will just attest to this. I know a few times when I felt like my rights were being violated, I stood up and I said, I wasn't very nice in my standing up for my rights. And I found that in my youth, as I aggressively and not so tactfully stood up for my rights, it often wound up with me sitting on the curb next to my vehicle with my hands behind my back.
Right.
It happened more than once.
Yeah.
But what I realized as I got older was that there's a way to stand up for my rights that I can stand up for my rights. I can be nice. I can be pleasant. I can be as compliant as I need to be without giving up my rights.
Yeah.
And and I found that those interactions, or the interactions that I've had with law enforcement ever since, have been as pleasant as they possibly could be. I mean, obviously, sometimes when you get in a ticket, it's not going to be pleasant, but you know what? They can be nice, polite, and professional, and I can be nice and polite and professional. But what he's talking about here is some people feel like when they get pulled over for no reason, their first reaction is instinctual, like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. And then when you stand up for yourself, you feel like you're not doing anything wrong in standing up for yourself. Well, yeah, but how you stand up for yourself matters, because a lot of, as the average civilian doesn't understand, and I'm a civilian, they don't understand the training that a lot of law enforcement officers go through really teaches them that, look, every experience, every interaction could be the last. It could be your last. So your job in the end is to go home to your family at night at the end of your shift.
Yeah.
And so it's important when you understand that is how they're trained and how law enforcement is trained. For me, I'm like, look, my goal is to de-escalate, not because, not just for them, but also for me, because I want to go home at the end of this interaction.
Yeah.
But some people feel like they shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
And that's fine and wonderful. There are a lot of things I do in life that I don't feel like I should have to do.
Yeah.
But I do it because in the end, that's the best thing for me, and it's the best thing for those around me.
What is LeBron? What is he, about 30 years old now?
Somewhere around there. He's over 30, yeah. Like 31, 32, yeah.
Okay, so what Officer Joseph explained was before he was Officer Joseph, he was LeBron James. Now, I don't mean he was a basketball star. What I mean was he was a black man that grew up in this country and had been fed the news media garbage every day of white cops and cops in general hate black people. That's what he was told, that the cops hate black people. They're going to arrest black people. They're going to kill black people. That's what it was. Now, Officer Joseph there, his family owned a business in Los Angeles. And during the Rodney King riots, they lost their business. And he'd had to find himself a job, was looking for a good job with benefits to help raise his entire family or support his entire family. And the police department, credit to them, knew that there was issues with the black community since the Rodney King verdict. They went out actively recruiting black men and women to become officers and said, listen, if you think there's really a problem between us, let's bridge the gap and you become one of us and we'll become one of you and we'll all figure out each other's issues. We'll become more aware. Well, Officer Joseph did. And he said he wasn't with the department even until he was out of the academy. The first year he was there, and he realized the media has been feeding me a line of crap. They've been feeding me a line of crap. These are people that want to help. They are here to help, and we give them a bad rap. Is there going to be the occasional 1%, and I don't have any idea what the real number is, of bad employees that do the wrong thing? Yeah, it doesn't matter to me if that's a truck driver, a doctor, or the guy flipping your burgers at McDonald's, all right? You're going to get that number. I'd even say it's going to be less in law enforcement because of the extensive amount of background checks that they go through. Well, this is what Officer Joseph has tried to say. LeBron, you've got it wrong. You've been fed a line. Come out, be part of us. Let's work together on this rather than you jumping on the bandwagon and saying all cops are bastards or whatever the hell it is you say.
Right. And he specifically also spoke in the open letter that he wrote to LeBron.
Yeah.
He actually also included and talked about, why this was such, this situation, why the officer handled it right. And he said that if he were in the same situation, he would have handled it like the officer did.
Yep.
Because someone's life was in danger.
Yeah.
His wasn't in danger, but there was a young woman who was about to be on the receiving end of a very long knife blade,
Yep.
and he was protecting her life.
Exactly right. And hats off to this officer for doing this. I hope the LAPD does the right thing and leaves him alone.
Yep.
And nothing happens because of some weird social media thing. He obviously did it in civilian clothes, but we'll see. We'll see how restrictive their policy is, and if they decide they want to smack him down. So
Yeah.
good on you, Officer Joseph. Thank you for doing such. Craig, also out there in La La Land, they had the Oscars this past week. Did you watch the Oscars?
I have not watched the Oscars, quite frankly, and it has nothing really to do with politics, except that I stopped watching the Oscars when Out of Africa beat The Color Purple for Best Picture. I was like, this is done. I'm done. I'm never watching this ever again. Ever.
Yeah, I think for me, it was probably when it became a political stance and a political show for everybody. When everybody got up there and started to do the woke speech, where everybody would get up and give their acceptance speech, and it had nothing to do with thanking the director and his parents and everything else. And it was always for, this is because there people are out there that are oppressed, and you know what, we don't want that to you want to talk to us about oppression. Find a movie that deals with oppression, and you can go out and perform in that. Don't need to hear from you every day with your crap. You're an entertainer. Do your job. Entertain us. I'm sorry, but that's it. Well, evidently, you and I are not the only ones that feel this way about the Oscars. Last bit of info I was taking a look at there was 1998. Billy Crystal was the host. He'd been the host a couple of times there. 57 million viewers watched it in 1998. This past weekend, and I didn't even know it was on until I was changing the channels, and I'm like, is this the Oscars are on? Oh, didn't know. No lead up, no nothing. And less than 10 million people watched it this time. Now, Craig, I get that, internet, people are watching different venues, different avenues. Not the reason why.
Well, but you know what's funny is, so keep in mind now, as late as 2014, there were over 40 million people were watching.
Yeah.
Last year alone, there were 23 million. So to drop all the way down from 23 million down to under 10 million is huge. There's no way to explain that away except that to show just how out of touch those in the Hollywood elitists are. Because number one, the films they think are good films are not good films. I mean,
Correct.
You just watch the list. Just look at the list of films that were put up for Best Picture. Dude, it was Depression City. Every single one of them, right? None of them are a happy, feel-good film. Every single one of them is going to make you want to barf. But then on top of it, you have them getting up and talking about their politics, and then they're also judging, well, how racially inclusive are the films? Because if they're not racially inclusive, well, then they shouldn't be up here getting nominated for anything. They've just taken it, and they've thrown so much crap and politics into it that people are like, even people who maybe agree with that stuff are like, yeah, nah, I'm good.
To put the period on the sentence, to drop the cherry on top of the ice cream float. This is it. I love this point that. Up for Best Actor was Sir Anthony Hopkins. We all know who Sir Anthony Hopkins is, right? Little Chianti with some fava beans, Sir Anthony Hopkins. He won Best Actor. He wasn't there. They got a hold of his agent and they asked, well, where is he? And he said, I don't know. It's like 9:30. He's probably home in bed. He didn't care. He didn't care. The Oscars? Yeah, whatever. Don't care.
Well, and let's just be honest. So I like Chadwick Boseman, but he was not better than Anthony Hopkins. He just wasn't. And they wanted so bad to give it to Chadwick Boseman. And, even when they finally did get a hold of Anthony Hopkins, he made sure to give tons of kudos and credit to Chadwick. And I think the reason he wasn't there was because he thought for sure the politics were going to make it so that Chadwick was going to win, and he didn't even have a shot.
And listen, like I said, Chad was a very good actor. It's a tragedy that lost so young, stomach cancer. And, I watched another movie the other day that I didn't even know he was in. One of his earlier works, but it was, in fact, it was Draft Day.
Draft Day.
with,
Oh, I
Sarah
love him
Connor.
in that movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was him. I just watched it again recently. So
Well, first of all, he in that movie, I mean, he looks big. He's supposed to be playing a linebacker.
Yeah.
He looks swole in that movie.
yeah,
Which is weird because when he did Black Panther, you could tell he had lost a lot of weight, and then even later, you could tell he had lost a lot of weight. You could tell he was dealing with something, even though it wasn't publicly known, but he was dealing with some health challenges.
right. Yeah, but again, not a Sir Anthony Hopkins. So maybe that one went the right way. We don't know, and and rest in peace to Chad and his family as well. That's just horrible. All right, moving on from there. Oscars are dead. Let's get away from that. Washington Post. Something else dead over at the Washington Post is their fact track that they have. Are you familiar with the fact track, Craig?
Oh, you mean where they actually? Well, they call it fact checking,
Yeah.
but they don't actually check facts. They just find a way to denounce something that they would try to find something to denounce what President Trump said. And interestingly, their quote unquote fact checking department was actually created during the Trump administration because of the Trump administration.
And when asked why was it created, they all went, we got no answer. Got no answer. It was clearly created because they wanted to bash on Trump. That's what it was. And they could tell you down to the number. Well, Trump said 57,643 or whatever the number is, things wrong during his presidency. Well, I guess they've also tracked over the first 100 days that President Biden has 67 things that he lied about. First off, from his speech the other night, I could tell you 67 things he lied about. But guess what? That's not their agenda. Their agenda is to dump on Trump. Their agenda is not to make President Biden look bad. So all of a sudden, they just went bye-bye.
Well, of course. I mean, once again, their goal is to tear down a Republican president. It has nothing to do with telling the truth, because if they did, they would realize, you're going to have a field day if you're actually checking facts. You're going to have a field day. Maybe they felt like it was just going to cost them too much money to pay people to do all the fact checking that they're going to have to do with President Biden. I'm starting to wonder, because it seems like every other thing that he says is just not the case or just is not true. And we could probably spend all day just talking about the things that he has already said in his first 100 days that just aren't so.
That's right. And remember, he's only had one press conference and one address to Congress. That's it. He's had two things that he's done publicly. Everything else, it's all come out through statements. Unlike President Trump, who you saw every day. Every day. Yeah.
And then he's got Jen Psaki out there, and she is literally just up there. I mean, you're talking just. It's kind of funny because she's one of them, and she's like, I don't know, and she is in a position where she's having to tell lies and misinformation in order to cover for the president.
She got asked a question by Fox the other day, and I'm pretty sure she went, "Oh, look, butt cake," and walked away.
I'll circle back to that.
That's absolutely ludicrous. Craig, speaking of ludicrous, and not the singer, let's talk about universities marking down bad spelling because it's elitist. Now, this is from Hull University out in England. It's located about hours east of Leeks, if anybody's out there is a geography nut like I am. So towards the coast and the North Atlantic. And,
well, hello! How are you?
Maybe the dingoes ate your baby. No, I'm sorry. That's Australian. Sorry.
That's Australia.
That's it. That just came out. I'm sorry. Cup of tea. Yeah, there you go.
By the way, Australia is where all the ghetto Britons went.
Well, it was a prison colony. It's what it was. It started out as a prison colony, and then the guards left, and they were like, "Now what? What do we do now?"
I guess we're gonna learn how to speak English ourselves.
That's it. Let's go get a crocodile. That's whatever. All right, go do it. Have fun. Like, what can I say? I'm in Florida where we wrestle gators for fun. So, it's it's a thing. We do it. Yeah, in fact, in high school, you have to do it before you can graduate. It's true.
Yes.
It's
Kind of
it's
mandatory.
it's true. It's absolutely true.
But dude, okay, so getting back to the story though, I mean, let's just be honest. What they're talking about it
Yeah.
being elitist is, first of all, bad spelling, bad grammar. I'm sorry. Look, if you're going to speak the English language, you need to speak the English language. It is important to make sure that you speak appropriate English. Now, I will say this, and you're probably gonna disagree. Well, you may or may not disagree with me once I make my point. And that there's a book that I was reading that actually made some really good sense. And that in the United States, and I'll just use the U.S. as an example, we have a lot of people who speak a lot of different ways. And if you consider each one to be a dialect or pronunciation,
Yes.
a lot of times what happens is when a teacher is dealing with a student, in this particular case in this book, they were specifically talking about an African American student who spoke with for lack of a better term, African American or urban dialect, we'll say.
Okay.
And it was a reading comprehension exercise, and the teacher, because the teacher asked a question and the student gave the answer, instead of focusing on whether or not the student actually demonstrated that they comprehended what they were reading, the teacher corrected their grammar first.
Right.
And I'm like, well, and so the point that particular teacher was that particular educator was trying to make in the book that I was reading was, let's focus. First thing is, recognize that the student actually comprehended what they were reading. Right?
Yeah.
And then let's correct the English or the grammar, because it's important that they learn the proper way to speak.
Right.
But don't start off by saying, yeah, you said that wrong, even though what you said was right. So I get it in that point, but that doesn't mean you don't correct it. That doesn't mean that you don't provide them the right way to say it or the right way to write it.
You ever watch the cooking shows, Craig? When they have these contests, they grade you on three things. It's taste, originality, and presentation, right? Well, to me, it's kind of the same way. If this person comes up and gives her presentation, well, listen, what was the content? Did she get her point across? Boom. Okay, so we got certain many points for that. Was she able to make sure she had all the facts correct? Yes. Boom. There. Presentation. Did she drop some double negatives and some slang terms? Ooh, she did. Okay, so we're taking a couple of points off her presentation, but that's the reason we're here in college at university, because we're going to show you what standardized English is. Now, this is not standardized English, in upstate New York at SUNY, Buffalo, as opposed to learning it in the Bronx. This is English, the primary dominant language of the world, what the business world exists in. That's what the goal is to get everybody to standardize English. It has nothing to do with, we marked you down because you used urban language. I get that. But here we're at college. We're all moved forward. We all took tests. We all got here. We're going to help each other get there. If you want to go back to wherever you're from and you're from South Boston and you're going to speak like a Southie, that's what you do. But, when you present, when you're in an aircraft and you're flying and you're in Europe and you have to use perfect English, because that's the recognized language of aviation, it can't be urban slang. It's got to be the recognized language of the world. That's what this is, and I see that
exactly.
But what Whole University has done is said, listen, we're gonna broad stroke it, and we're not going to grade you at all. So what happens when this person goes on and gets a position of authority and gets elected to the school board or somewhere else and can't write a sentence down and can't build a paragraph because they never understood English correctly?
I will tell you, I am a school board member, and I know that school board member you just spoke of. I know them.
Yeah.
And they're school board members.
I understand it and I get it. It reminds me, Craig, did you late 80s, early 90s movie called Blue Chips. Did you ever see the movie Blue Chips?
Yes.
Okay. There's one scene in there where Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway are students in college, this mystical college where Nick Nolte's the coach.
Right.
And they're doing a quiz, they're doing a test, and Shaq stands up and says, "No, I'm not answering that. Your test is culturally biased." And Shaq was clearly just playing the role there,
Right.
but it got the point across. Now listen,
Right.
this is Shaq's actually the perfect example. You've heard
Mm-hmm.
Shaq talk, and Shaq can sound as street as you want him to sound. Shaq's also. Did you know he's Dr. Shaq,
Yeah.
PhD
Yeah.
in criminology?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Because guess what? That's where he wants to be now that his basketball career is over and he'll get tired of the broadcasting thing. I told you once before, he's going to be a sheriff in Florida or Georgia one day,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done everything he's had to do to get those certifications and all those lessons. He's been an active law enforcement officer. But do you think he really got his PhD because he threw down double negatives, ain't, and curse words in a statement? Absolutely
No.
not.
I mean, but keep in mind, we're dealing with probably the most sensitive generation
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
ever. I mean, this is a group of people you can't speak to them harshly because they will get
Yeah.
upset with you.
Yeah.
And no, no offense if you're part of that generation. If that doesn't sound like you, then you are probably an anomaly.
Yeah.
Especially if you're watching this show.
Yeah.
But you're probably probably an anomaly.
Yeah.
But once again, when it's more when how people feel is more important than what the truth is. It's like we want people to feel better than we'd rather them feel better than do better.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely right, Craig. Absolutely right. Folks, that takes us to our parting shot today. So we're going to do Craig. You know what? I got to start today. I'm going to let you finish today with the parting shot.
Okay, well, I'm just going to throw it up there. Bam, there it is. That's what we're going to be doing as a parting shot today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are when it comes to our President of the United States. I mean, he is, and we've already talked about this, he is the only president to be seen actually falling upstairs, which is sad. And notice that, mind you, let me pull it back up again. Notice that even though there is no one within 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet, notice that he's still wearing a mask. In fact, what was crazy was it reminded me of the State of the Union address where you look in the background. I'm not State of the Union. It wasn't the State of the Union because I'm sorry, the first time you do it, it's not the State of the Union, where he addressed Congress this week.
Correct.
You notice you had Nancy Pelosi and Kamala in the background, both of them dozens of feet away from anybody, still wearing masks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. And here's my imitation of Ted Cruz, by the way, at the joint session of Congress. He fell asleep wearing his mask, just sitting there falling asleep. That's the best way, Craig, by the way, to listen to a Joe Biden speech.
It is. You know what's funny about it is that it's literally been said that he is so boring in how he talks and so quiet and slow that literally people don't realize that that the things that he is talking about are big and controversial and are culture changing. And
right.
Not in a good way. But most people like the fact that he's not crazy. He's not loud orange man.
Yep. You know, it reminds me of a story from the Secret Service when President Clinton was the president. The Secret Service had a couple of nicknames for him. One was Player, and the other was Slick Willie, and that was their Secret Service nicknames for him. Do you know their Secret Service cover names for them? Do you know what Al Gore's Secret Service cover name was?
No, I do not.
It was Al Gore. Because that's how exciting that man was.
Wow.
Joe
All right,
Biden,
folks.
probably the same way. You know, I'm sure he's probably got Sleepy Joe on there thanks to President Trump. But, you know, I can empathize with the Secret Service agents.
I can imagine. Well, anyway, folks, hey, we ran a little over time today, but hey, it's all good. It's Friday. You ain't got no place to be. So, hey, remember, subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share, and encourage your friends to do the same. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel so we can start giving you guys stuff.
Like, share, subscribe. We've got wonderful stuff to give you. Look, we got props. This is going to be one of the first things to go. This is my fake mask that I just used to be Ted Cruz. So I'm going to give that away. I'm going to autograph it. I'm gonna hold on. Here we go. I'm gonna even put Ted.
Is that worth the paper it's written on?
Get well soon. There we go. Not worth the paper it's written on.
Used paper.
That's it. Exactly. Autograph.
All right, you guys enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
See you Monday.